But we are hearing that we can go to the match now between Michael Bonde here on the left on John Sacrifice, Edie Kassis on Team of Reclamation. And you see in Edie's hand a copy of Main Deck Mystical Dispute, which, in theory, John Sacrifice is very good at dodging, but its top-end cards are slow enough that actually 3-mana Mana Leak is good enough most of the time.
And look at this hand from Bonde. We saw him have to really tank on if he wanted to keep it, because these Claim the Firstborns almost make it like a mulligan to 5, but Trail of Crumbs, Gilded Goose, lands, and Priest of Forgotten Gods, that's a good 5.
And Priest of Forgotten Gods needs other resources to do something with, and you're not looking most of the time to actually eat a specific creature from the Reclamation deck. So that's a card which functions much better in these 7-card hands than these 5-card hands. We do see part of this elaborate machine coming together, though. Cauldron Familiar with Trail of Crumbs, and we're given enough time, Michael Bonde can dig himself out of that hole.
And we see him really prioritizing developing this Cauldron Familiar rather than drawing a free card off of the Trail of Crumbs. And that just comes down to Bonde realizing that he needs to get on the battlefield, needs to apply pressure, because Trail of Crumbs is not going to outgrind Expansion Explosion.
Absolutely. And a second Trail of Crumbs attempted here for Bonde. Is he thinking if he wants to use a Mystical Dispute or even the negate on that here? And if you don't have time to use one Trail of Crumbs most of the time, the second one isn't doing too much for you. But he decides, why not use my mana this turn, fire off that Mystical Dispute, and potentially curve into Nightpack Ambusher or Shark Typhoon on the following turn.
The big thing that it was doing there was just generating a food, and it would have given an additional way to just spend this black mana that Bonde has hanging out in this Castle Locktoin.
And Bonde with the choice. Does he want that 4th land with a Blood Crypt or a Priest of Forgotten Gods? Takes the Blood Crypt, knowing that if his aim is to build towards a card like Corvold or Bolus the Citadel, then you need the lands to deploy that with. And another swamp off the top there for Bonde,
and
who has to be a little wary about attacking into potentially Shark Typhoon or Nightpack Ambusher. Turns out Kassis has both.
Well, bright side, Goose is pretty good at bringing the cat back.
That's let's say a minor consolation for him here. Fable Passage, sacrifice for Edie Kassis, digs a second mana out of the deck, and here is Nightpack Ambusher on Bonde's end step.
And this read is basically Bonde prioritizing blocking with Cauldron Familiar rather than running it into the Nightpack Ambusher.
Yeah, and we could have seen Priest of Forgotten Gods come down on that turn, and that's a card which has a narrow window if it's going to dispose with the Ambusher, instead of just eating up a Wolf token that the Ambush is making every turn. So Bonde can also, though, try to surprise him with Priest into Claim the Firstborn, which doesn't have that many other good uses here. Like, look at this. If Bonde can... He could use both claims, assuming nothing from Kassis' side, claim a Wolf token, claim his Priest to give a haste, and then eat the Ambusher. But that might be a pipe dream, given what's in Kassis' hand.
Well, now that a spell was cast with Ambusher's trigger on the stack, Kassis will not be getting that token from Ambusher.
And there's Mayhem Devil off the top, too, for Bonde, which can get Ether Gusted, admittedly. But here is... being very deliberate with this happening here. Here is Priest of Forgotten Gods, which can't get gusted, could get disputed if there was another land, but he could just pay for that anyway. And then here's Cauldron Familiar coming back with the food token. And it looks like we're going for that line. Claim the Firstborn on Priest of Forgotten Gods. That can get gusted once, can't get gusted twice.
But Gilded Goose could get gusted.
Oh, it sure could. And then, where are we finding that second creature from? So this is the decision here for Kassis, right? Do you gust the Claim the Firstborn, or do you gust the Goose?
And a big question here is, if you gust the Claim, that's going to feel better, because how likely is Kassis to just put Claim back on top of the library?
And Kassis just lets it resolve. No gusting of any kind here.
Oh, there could be a gust of one kind.
Look, are we just gusting our own
side of the battlefield?
Okay. But no, Kassis lets it go. Remarkable patience there from Kassis.
Yeah, and this is more or less just saying that Nightpack Ambusher likely isn't going to be the way to actually end up winning this game, when you know there's that Trail of Crumbs as well as Cauldron Familiar in the graveyard.
And instantly fires off Negate on that Trail of Crumbs. Hard to find a better target for that in the short term.
And that's why we saw so much patience from that Aether Gust, is Kassis just knows that Trail of Crumbs is the thing that you really need to answer here, because that's what gives so many resources.
But look at that. There's another appealing negate target in Witch's Oven, which by itself is fairly innocuous in conjunction with Common Familiar now and Mayhem Devil. We have the whole Rube Goldberg machine online here, Emma.
Yeah, this is some very serious pressure if Bonde can just get it on the table.
And Gross Power in response.
Ooh.
There's Fatal Passage, so we can Mystical Dispute that if we're so inclined.
And at this point, I imagine what we see from Kassis is just prioritizing using that dispute specifically, or saving it for specifically Bolas's Citadel.
Yeah, and with Bonde having some cards in hand that he hasn't cast, those could very easily be those cards at the top of his curve, which he hasn't had a good window to deploy yet. But Aether Gust, sending Mayhem Devil right back on top of the deck, that's going to be coming down next turn, and at that point, Mystical Dispute can't deal with it, and that Mayhem Devil can get to work. It is worth noting here, too, that right now, the cat oven combo back and forth, not online just yet because there's no food token in play. So Bonde would have to cash in something for that food token. Doesn't want to sacrifice his priest just yet. Mayhem Devil is back.
Well, there's a point where Acclaim can just end up stealing a shark token, and that's a great way to get the party started, especially if it has 4 toughness to give you that second food.
Absolutely, and that might be why Kassis is also a little wary of deploying the Brazen Borrower too. It's not a good blocker, not a great attacker, but it is a great claim the firstborn target. And Kassis just cycling a shark, Ketria Triumph, but there's Storm's Wrath, which can clean up that board.
That's the one main deck copy. This has got to be a great pickup for Kassis here. Just being able to check that Mayhem Devil this quickly.
He's going to give it a little more time here.
Sure, and this is just paying a ton of respect to Bolas's Citadel with that Mystical Dispute.
And here we go, claim the firstborn on the shark token. And yeah, Kassis doesn't have a good response. And now, even through that Storm's Wrath, we're attacking for 6 here. Priest can activate itself, and then through the Storm's Wrath, we can. I guess Brazen Borrower threatening now to come down and block the shark, but this is maybe where we see the Witch's Oven sacrifice something, ping with the Mayhem Devil trigger, and the Cat Oven combo now online once again.
Right, this is the spot where it's so easy to sacrifice the shark, get back the Cauldron Familiar, shoot down the Brazen Borrower, and still have that food for your trouble.
And now, even with Storm's Wrath clearing up these 2 creatures, the cat and the oven, are going to be dancing back and forth into play. And Kassis does not have an immediate way to punish that. There's no Uro, there's no Ambusher, no Wilderness Reclamation threatening to set up some ridiculous turn.
Well, okay, so we do see Bonde putting a ton of material onto the table with this Gilded Goose off of a Castle Locthwain, bringing back the cat, activating the Priest of Forgotten Gods, just trying to make sure all of this goes off without a hitch, but the Storm's Wrath hanging out in Kassis' hand can punish it.
But look at this. 2 Mayhem Devil triggers and the Priest activation, taking Kassis down to 3. And now, even through the Storm's Wrath, we're looking at lethal pretty quickly, except, wow, look at that Blast Zone off the top.
Oh, that's a way to actually just kill this Cauldron Familiar before it makes it a combat.
Can deal with the Witch's Oven too at the same time.
Bonde just a point short. If he had found a Cauldron Familiar, a Witch's Oven, any of that off the top of his library, this game would be over.
But now we're looking at any food source as a great draw for Michael Bonde. Any card like Mayhem Devil is going to be great too. And now the coast might be clear to deploy something like a top-decked Corvold or Bolas's Citadel.
Yeah, this is the line where we're likely just going to see this Blast Zone make sure it can check Witch's Oven as soon as possible.
Ooh, Castle Locthwain already had one in play, but he's going to start drawing additional cards at every turn. And look at that, Vraska Golgari Queen. I guess you have to Mystical Dispute that one.
Oh, yeah. You got to dispute it, right? It's a Planeswalker. It's going to draw so many cards on its own.
Oh, look at that Scavenging Ooze. That is going to be gigantic.
What a big pickup for Kassis here.
And look, even if the Blast Zone takes up to deal with that, well, now we don't have the Blast Zone to deal with the cat and the oven, which... and look, Yeah, so the blast zone has to eat the witch's oven, otherwise, uh, Bonda just makes the food and then brings the cauldron familiar back. But now we got to deal with that scavenging use somehow, and there is a lot of food for that in both graveyards.
What a delicious Night Pack Ambusher corpse you have.
We'll be feasting on a Mayhem Devil sometime soon. Oh, look at that Brazen Borrower in there too. We'll deal some petty theft on that one. Get ourselves a cannon and some life. Even get to activate Castle Lockthwain in the process here too. And so at this point, in one sense, the scavenging use is just running out the score, but also he has to respect, what if I attack into something like the Shard Typhoon that Ely has drawn? So he needs to make sure he can boost it above that power toughness breakpoint.
Right, so here, you really want to be attacking with his ooze for at least 7. Except...
Oh, look at that. There's the food source.
Trail of Crumbs off the top. If Ely goes for the high score on the Shark Typhoon, Bonde just ends the game.
That's it. This game is over. Game 1 goes to Michael Bonde. You see that Bonda doesn't even need to start activating the use. We're going to go to sideboarding here. And if you've been playing on Arena recently, you may have dabbled in Jumpstart, which is a really new, unique kind of product that Magic hasn't really seen before. If you want to order that on paper, you can do that now at starcitygames.com/JMP. And as we look at sideboarding here for both players, you see Noxious Grasp, which as Ely fills his deck with Nightpack Ambushers and Elder Gargaroth and even Questing Beast, there's going to be some nice targets for that one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A lot of what you want to be able to do is just make sure that you check these green creatures that the Teamer deck is trying to apply pressure with. This is a kind of a wild situation where these cards like Corvold and Bolas' Citadel actually make it to where the Jund Sacrifice deck, if you just leave it alone, will kill the Teamer Reclamation deck in the mid game while it's still assembling this Wilderness Reclamation plus Explosion for a million combo.
Right, and look at Thought Distortion there as well. That's a great card to ramp into with Gilded Goose and Priest of Forgotten Gods, and classically, that has been very strong against Teamer Reclamation. We see Bonda, though, not even immediately putting that in his deck. He knows if these Noxious Grasps are good against the Elder Gargaroths and Cresting Beasts of the world, then Thought Distortion might not actually be that high impact anymore.
Yeah, it's a big question. If you're bringing these things in that only check their creatures, and then how interested are you in something that checks everything but creatures, right? You need to kind of pick a side one way or another, and even if you end up being wrong, that can inform how you sideboard going into the third game.
Yeah, and Bonda might even be doing the opposite in hedging his bet in both directions. You know, I have all these cards that can deal with the creatures, so why not hedge against the non-creature half as well? And maybe that makes my deck a little bit less cohesive, but that might be a good price to pay. We see Bonda just ironing out the details here. And Hill submits.
All right, slight issue looking like on Kassis' side, but it's getting ironed out pretty quickly.
And we're jumping back into the game here, so it looks like that may have been ironed out real quick. And so for Kassis, a slow hand with awkward mana here feels borderline to me, but maybe it's worth it.
On Kassis, you have a slow hand with awkward mana, and on Bonda's side, you have a slow hand with awkward mana. It's just really a sort of mirror match. Despite these decks' differences, they can come together with that middle ground.
Yeah, if you ask me for an elevator pitch for the Jund Sacrifice deck, it's a slow hand with awkward mana. You know, that's what you sign up for with this deck. But the payoff can be very high if it all comes together for you. And we do see a much better 6 for Kassis, Growth Spiral on 6. And look at that copy of Narset's Reversal. You know, he has open deck lists. He's seen Thought Distortion. He knows what the deal is here. But Bonda may have gone one level above him by just not bringing that card in to begin with.
Right, and this is another reason that you just don't want to have that card in your deck. Narset's Reversal screams Answer Explosion, Answer Thought Distortion, those types of cards.
we usually see that little dance in the Sultai decks where they're bringing in Thought Distortion, aiming to hit Team of Reclamation. And if they get hit with their own Thought Distortion via reversal, that's devastating. They can wipe out their own hand at the same time. Against John Sacrifice, Thought Distortion not the card you want. So the reversal half of it is less devastating here, but just getting rid of that Thought Distortion is the name of the game. That's why reversals coming down. And Scorching Dragonfire, a timely pickup for Edie Kassis, taking care of that first Mayhem Devil.
And Bonde is so desperate for a green source here, ripping several green spells in a row in a Castle Lochtwain. Now just Mayhem Devil onto the battlefield is the last thing he can cast before a ton of green.
Hold up. We're getting aggressive here, it looks like.
Ooh, going on a little quest?
Okay. And I was going to joke that we could use Castle Lochtwain to dig for a green source, but that's not great in the face of the questing beast. There is green source.
Way to do it.
Off the top there for Bonde, who now has to decide which of his green spells does he want to deploy.
It doesn't feel good, but I think Llanowar Visionary is the play here because that's a guaranteed, consistent second source of green mana. It also digs you toward a third.
Right, Scavenging Ooze not as great as it could be here. With when Bonde limited on green mana, really needs the additional spare green sources to deploy that. Doesn't have those at the moment, and that Visionary doesn't make it any easier to block the Questing Beast, so that gets to crunch in for another 4 points of damage. And we might be looking at a manual explosion just ending this game if the Beast gets to keep attacking.
Yeah, this is a position where Kassis is already able to just cast Explosion for 3 as a fairly traditional removal spell.
Yeah, you don't even need to save that one. Just fire it off, get Bonde even lower, draw some more cards. If you draw a second Explosion, that's lights out. Okay, here's Witch's Oven for Bonde. That can get him a food token, which can gain some life, and then we're triggering Mayhem Devil. So, oh, look at this. Mayhem Devil even getting to trigger off of Edie Kassis' Fable Passage. And do we have the tools now to ping down this Questing Beast?
I think this is the spot where this is actually Kassis planning to fire off this explosion to kill the Mayhem Devil to avoid exactly that scenario.
And here's another... Yeah, so in response to the Witch's Oven, which would be the sacrifice outlet that Bonde is looking for. And if we're spending our turn on this, as Bonde, we haven't really added anything to our board. Questing Beast is coming in again, and now Kassis has drawn 3 more cards for his trouble. He'll have another one in his draw step, so... This game looking... this game looking very shaky here for Bonde.
Uro and Shark Typhoon coming off of that explosion. I don't think Gilded Goose is the follow-up Bonde wanted to have there.
And look how much pressure Bonde is under. This is why Trail of Crumbs has really fallen out of favor to some degree. You're even seeing John Sacrifice decks often not playing the full 4 copies anymore. You just don't have the time to get that going as much as you would like to.
Right, the door will get slammed shut by these big, powerful effects that you just struggle to interact with. We see this food being cracked for no value on Kassis' instep. That is a sign of desperation if I've ever seen one.
You just need that life buffer back. Clothers can offer that too. We see that gaining 2 life back for Bonde. And now here's Trail of Crumbs.
Classic Clothright Shaman.
Trail of Crumbs gets another food token into play for Bonde. And now I guess the hope is use Scavenging Ooze to get big enough to trade with the Questing Beast.
I think that is going to be the line here. We see a shock for an extra green mana, which would be that second source you need for Scavenging Ooze.
And so now, I guess Llanowar Visionary and Gilded Goose both acting as potential green sources on this turn, even if they're not ideal ones.
1 source of devotion short from enabling Clothis.
But look at this, a 6/6 shark on Bonde's end step. We're going to attack, sending both in here. And now Gilded Goose can jump in front of the shark token to buy a turn.
Oh, it has to.
But wait, how many creatures are there in the graveyard for Bonde right now?
I think that what we're going to see here is Gilded Goose float a green, use that or activate this copy of Trail of Crumbs with Castle Lochtwain, but use the green with Scavenging Ooze to eat the Mayhem Devil, then use Llanowar Visionary after combat to eat the Gilded Goose and grow Scavenging Ooze to a 4/4.
I guess could we sacrifice the goose to the witch's oven before just to get enough, get another creature there?
Yeah, that's a way to do it as well.
We're really using every part of the buffalo right now.
Doing every single thing possible, not wanting to give anything up. Bonde is already qualified for tomorrow's championship, so he's playing for cash. He wants to make a deep run and get that $1,000 for first place.
Also, if you know Michael Bonde, you know he loves Magic. He just always wants to be battling. He's not going to pass up an opportunity to play an event like this. So now we get to... Yeah, we eat the Gilded Goose.
Interesting tensions with this Bolas's Citadel. Because now, Bonde is at 8. That's not very many spells that this is going to be casting.
No, you really want to be at parity in the game, or even ahead on life level to deploy that Citadel. When you're behind, it's a clunky card to begin with, and then its effect is diminished by that too.
So here we can see Llanowar Visionary go ahead, bump Bonde up to 9, and Kassis get it up to 11, but 11 life is not a ton to play with here.
Oh, look at that card for Edie Kassis. Thrix of Sudden Storm. Not something we've seen often in the standard format at all, but Kassis very good at identifying these obscure cards that function very well in specific situations, and Thrix might be one of those.
It almost feels a similar role to Teferi in a lot of blue mirrors, where it kind of forces the immediate counterspell then, or Explosion is going to resolve. But here, it's just a great body.
Absolutely. And the goose is officially cooked now for Michael Bonde, growing Scavenging Goose to a 3/3. And now Kassis looking what it can eat itself. So without that Thrix, Bonde might be able to just struggle his way back in, but that's going to be 11 power of flyers on the board here.
Yeah,
that's a formidable clock for Edie Kassis.
Bonde is going to need to find something like a Gilded Goose off the Citadel just to block, or combo kill right now.
Okay, let's spin these wheels.
It's not impossible, right?
Oh, we've seen it happen in these qualifiers before. Ooh, there's Murderous Rider.
Or
so Swift End. Yeah, Swift End. Either one of those would make a decent target, but taking down that 6/6 flyer. There we go. But Narset's Reversal is
oh,
this is not what it was earmarked for, but it's going to come to play in a big way here.
Oh my god, this
Look
is
at this!
so big.
This is taking down the Scavenging Ooze, and now that's the only thing that could have blocked the Questing Beast.
Okay, so no pun intended. What an enormous reversal!
Right, Narset really doing Edie Kassis a solid there.
And this might be the phase where Bonde just thinks, okay, I just need to get a raw number of permanents off the top with the Citadel somehow to try and combo kill.
And we also have 5 mana left over. If you would ask Bonde at the start of this turn if he was playing around Narset's Reversal into Thrix Sudden Storm, I don't think anyone ever has played around that combination of cards, first of all. But I'm sure Bonde wasn't, even though he's looking at the deck list here.
Oh... Well, okay, sacrificing a food using Llanowar Visionary to pay and dig. That's actually a way to keep going here.
Yeah. Okay, scry to the bottom.
Ugh. And a land on top.
That's going to break the chain, and here's Thrix of Sudden Storm. Look at that. Look at that motley crew over there for Edie Kassis. Transforming into this odd aggressive deck, but that got the job done.
Oh yeah, just taking things to a game 3 now, and Ely showing that he understands pressure is the name of the game against this Jund Sacrifice deck. Put them on the back foot, make it so their cat oven combo can't actually hold the fort down, and you've got a recipe for success.
And Bonde just resubmitting, leaving those Thoughtless Indulgence in the sideboard, which would have been comically bad in that game, even without the Narset's Reversal turning things around.
And if you want to get a better hold on just about any format, see how the pros play test, you can check out Versus Live every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time with the lovely Corey Baumeister and Ross Merriam. Lots of banner and really just talking through their sideboarding, their plays, showing how players really make it to this point and make it in Magic.
if you want to see Ross Merriam absolutely bodied by a Narset's reversal, I'm sure you can find that in the Versus live archives, and lots of equally undignified ends for Ross Merriam every week over there on Versus Live on StarCityGames.com. But how can you turn down that smile? Look, Corey is, you can't stay mad at him for too long. As we look at the hands here for both players, the Cat Oven combo here to start for Michael Bonde, but look at that for Edie Kassis. He has 2 copies of Scorching Dragonfire and that one Thrixa Sudden Storm to take over the mid game with.
Well, on the bright side, this copy of Witch's Oven is actually going to do a great job of counteracting those Scorching Dragonfire, since the biggest thing that you want to use that against is just any of these recursive creatures, but Witch's Oven is giving them a sort of pseudo-protection.
And that's the risk assessment you have to make as the John Sacrifice player. Of often you can maximize damage, but in a way that leaves you open to a Scorching Dragonfire. And so you have to weigh up what's the likelihood of them having it. Can I bait them into using it now or on something less important? And we see the first Scorching Dragonfire fired off on this Ghost Rider. That will get fed to the oven. The cat will come back.
And look at all of these micro decisions here to just really optimize every single aspect of this game. Rather than just immediately sacrificing the Ghost Rider to the oven, you bring back the cat, you sack it, you scry one, you get that scry bottom, so you get that bit of value, then you feed the Ghost Rider to the oven, and you did all the same thing, but you're up a scry now and protected your Cauldron Familiar from a Scorching Dragonfire.
And there is Will off the top for Edie Kassis. A good answer to either the Witch's Oven on the board or the Bonus to Citadel in Bonde's hand. And now with Uro being played for Kassis, the shields are down for Scorching Dragonfire on this turn. So we're going to see the cat jump back into play, out of the oven, and Mayhem Devil off the top too.
Ooh, that is what we in the business refer to as an attacker.
Absolutely. Nod Masters never look so good. Or Trained Armadon if you're of a certain generation.
Ooh. Well, what do you mean certain generation?
No comment on that one. I've said all I need to say. But so now, Kassis does have the tools to clean this board up. He's got the Scorching Dragonfire, he's got the Wilt, has to decide how and when to use those to pad his life total, though. But maybe, just maybe, he wants to pass with that Thrixa Sudden Storm up as well.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we see something to the effect of lead on the Wilt to take off the Oven Shield and then Dragonfire to finish something off.
And there it is, lead with Wilt, which is often will sacrifice the Ghost Rider. Perhaps looking to escape that on the next turn. And now Scorching Dragonfire will deal with the Mayhem Devil.
And Kassis doing that with the Witch's Oven activation on the stack. So Bonde can't even bring back the Cauldron Familiar for that extra point of damage. These players knowing the exact timings for all of these interactions and how they want to squeeze every bit of value out of their cards.
Yeah, Bonde uses his final food to get that familiar back into play, follows up with the top decked Ghost Rider.
Wow, so no attack with the goat.
Applying some mild beatdowns here on Edie Kassis, who is still at a comfortable 15 life. And look at that, Elder Gargaroth, another 5-drop Haymaker off the top there.
And this is one of those Baneslayer Angel-esque cards that people keep talking about when they say these high-risk, high-reward cards that are so strong if you get to untap with them. But look at that Murderous Rider in Bonde's hand. Kassis is really trying to pave the way to let this Gargaroth take over the game by putting Thrixa down first.
Right, and Murderous Rider, as swift and can deal with one of those, can't deal with the second one unless Bonde finds another copy. And yeah, if he attacks it, gets ambushed by this giant 5/5, he's going to feel the need to use that Swift End, I think.
Ooh, yeah, no, this is a spot where you have two choices.
There it is, yeah.
Don't actually know what cards your opponent has access to. So you just have to do this.
Right, and you know what cards your opponent could have access to with open deck list, but in a way that makes it harder to play around this, where you see that one copy of Thrixa Sudden Storm. The odds that he has it at any given time are low, but if you discount that possibility and he has it, that can be a massive blowout. And here we see Elder Gargaroth, Edie Kassis crossing his fingers, hoping he gets one tap with that, and right now he's on schedule to.
Oh, Bonde looking for that untapped land for this Bolus Citadel in hand that can put the game away right now if he just
we scry again, and there it is.
He needs.
Okay, we are off to the races here, Emma. There's Bolus Citadel. But it's just a land.
Oh my gosh. Kassis getting to untap with this Elder Gargaroth. is so huge.
But right now, there's no big follow-up to it. There's no way to remove the Citadel. So if Bonde can untap with his Citadel, is that a base layer? I don't know where the taxonomy comes down on that one.
Well, it's hard to say. 6th life? That's so many cards from this Bolas' Citadel. That represents just a total shift in the number of resources that Bonde is going to get to look at this next turn.
All right, here we go. Mayhem Devil is the first order of things, and we see the Witch's Oven on top too, and another Witch's Oven.
Oh, this is how it happens.
There's oven number 1, oven number 2. There's the first land.
You can hard cast Murderous Rider from exile even to just get the food oven started.
We can escape a Roast Rider, I believe. There's Murderous Rider. We're going to sacrifice. Looks like the Murderous Rider to the Witch's Oven.
I think Bonde is actually doing a bit of math just to see if this is lethal yet. It's got to be close. Even without using Bolas' Citadel's activated ability, Murderous Rider Mayhem Devil represents so much damage with this many ovens, these cats triggers, etc.
Right, we're not even counting to 10 for Citadel anymore. We're counting to 11 for Kassis' life total with Mayhem Devil triggers. And yeah, look at this. Bonde moving very quickly. I think he sees the line. And no interaction from Kassis. Bonde has to think the coast is clear at this point.
Oh,
but another land off top for the Citadel. So that breaks the chain for now. Can we finish the job somehow?
Now there's this difficult balance of what you want to sacrifice with Witch's Oven if you want to keep going for the combo. 8 is not much life to play with anymore.
Yeah, so look at this. Mayhem Devil gets sacrificed to the Witch's Oven.
And this is Bonde saying that scrying with Roast Rider is worth more than the ping from the Mayhem Devil. He knows that if the chain stops here, so does the game, so does the match. And that would be one step closer to that seasonal championship qualification for Elite Kassis.
So Fable passing on bottom. Oh, Noctis Spark! Wow. And that even gains him a life back in the process. Look at this.
Oh my god, what a turnaround!
And even a Gilded Goose to follow up with. That's another source of food. We can bring the Cauldron Familiar back. What a perfect turn of events for Michael Bonde. So swinging here. And now, Cauldron Familiar coming back. We can sacrifice that again, get another scry, keep going with our Bolas to Citadel.
And if Bonde just finds a source of food, the game is over. That is all he needs to close the door. This Roast Rider can still go to combat and attack.
So many game actions here. And there it is. That's what you play these games for. That's why you put Bolas to Citadel in your deck for turns like this, where, okay, you can have an explosion for 10 cards, whatever. I'll play a Citadel. I'll play 10 cards off the top of my deck. I'll deal you lethal in one turn. How about it? No big deal. Here we go. Roast Rider is a lethal attacker now.
Roast Rider is lethal. Bonde doesn't know it just yet. Still trying to play to every single out. Doesn't want to get hit by a Night Pack Ambusher. Is playing to every last out imaginable.
Yeah, don't want to run into a Shard Typhoon or something like that either. So he'll keep the chain going here.
It all
but now he has to decide. Now here's the choice. Do you keep that food source around that thing that can sacrifice to Oven in Gilded Goose?
Oh my god, he passed turn.
Okay. This could be big. You know, if Elite Kassis can chain together, let's say, Wilderness Reclamation into an Expansion Explosion, or even if he just finds a way to remove that Citadel, escapes that Uro, this could be a game again. Colossal Vantress for Elite Kassis. He's got a few looks at it.
Actually, Ely's just dead. If Bonde gets to... Oh my god.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
Not with a top deck like that, he's not just dead on Bonde's next step.
No, there's Scavenging Ooze. That eats Roast Rider, that eats Cauldron Familiar.
This is so back and forth. We were calling it. We were calling this game for Bonde.
And he has a fair few green sources here, so he can get to work eating those graveyards. Bonde will get to untap with his Bolas to Citadel, with the Roast Rider, get to keep scrying. So Bonde gets another time with Citadel in play, because he can't feel too great about that, but on the precipice of maybe getting back into this game.
Yeah, letting Bonde untap with the Citadel has got to be rough, but it feels like Kassis is just going to go right back up to enough life that card doesn't spell imminent doom.
Yeah, 3 life off the Woe Strider, or 3 life off the Uro, excuse me. Up to 2 more off the Scavenging Ooze. Going up to 8. Now the Ballistic Citadel, we might be carrying to 10 for that one again. Depending on how this, the top of the library looks from here.
So right now, there's 5, at least a virtual 6 permanents on the battlefield for Bonde, if that Gilded Goose activates for a food.
All right, Michael Bonde, what can you do here?
Oh, okay, Woe Strider off the top, that's 2 permanents.
You'd love to see that one if you're a Michael Bonde fan.
Oh my, but Kassis let Bonde untap with this Woe Strider.
And so now, those graveyard can do a dance through that Scavenging Ooze if there's another Cauldron Familiar or something else. Ooh, Clothis? Wait, that's 6. That's 10. This game is over.
There are just 10 permanents on the battlefield. Activate the Gilded Goose, put the Clothis onto the battlefield. Either of these routes are going to spell victory for Michael Bonde. That is the power of Bolas' Citadel.
Yeah, we can go for Clothis, we can make a food in response, and then that gives us that's enough. We can do it.
And you can see he's just checking everything, crossing the I's, dotting the T's.
Down to 2. Because these are going to be down to -3 in just a second here. Look at that.
And the good game from Eli Kassis.
Wow, a photo finish there from Michael Bonde. But